Go inside the Crimson Tide. Tider Insider TV with Rodney Orr and Gary Harris.
It won't be long now until game day. The Alabama football team reports tomorrow with practice scheduled to begin on Thursday, and you can catch a glimpse of the Crimson Tide on Sunday. That's when the annual fan day is set. Practice starts at 2:30, gates open at 1:30. Autographs from players and coaches will follow the practice. And with that, I say good evening, everybody, and welcome into another edition of Tider Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock. Tonight, Rodney, ice cold Pepsi. We love it every week, thanks to Buffalo Rock. And speaking of Rodney Orr, what did I call you last year? Last week you didn't like it too much. Gray hair.
It's fine.
You said
I'm salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm trying to figure out exactly what's your color.
We're going to put all your guru ability. We're not going to talk about hair anymore. I said that last week. My bad. We're going to put all your recruiting knowledge to the test tonight, though. We got a big program on tap in that regard. Also, Nick Saban talks about the Marcel Darius situation, the latest on that, and a preview of Coach Saban's new movie, Nick Saban Game Changer. But first, as I alluded to, we'll begin on the recruiting trail, and Alabama got a big pickup last Friday.
I'm going to be spending the next 3 or 4 years of my academic and football career in Alabama.
That's Trey DePriest picking Alabama in his hometown of Springfield, Ohio. He's considered one of the top linebackers in the recruiting class that offers from Alabama, Florida, LSU, Oklahoma, and his home state, Ohio State Buckeyes. He chose the Tide, he says, for a lot of reasons, but mainly because Alabama just simply felt like the best fit.
I couldn't tell you any specifics, but just the love down there and their passion for football, and they're serious about their academics. And not that O State ain't, but it's just I just felt a lot better at Alabama.
He won. He was able to meet Phil Simms down at the Under Armour Combine and game in Orlando last year. Sal Sinceri, the linebacker coach, is really has a connection with him, and so now he knows several players, and it's always tough to leave the in-state, but you're going to a quality program, and I think he's pretty excited now about all this.
Rick Robertson, the head coach, talking about Trey DePriest, and 6'1", 226 pounds. I think Trey said the other day, Rodney, he's already up to like 235. He's been packing it on. But let's talk about this young man as a football player. You have studied the film on him, and you've talked with his coach. You've talked with Trey. I guess the first thing I want to make people aware of is he's going to be a linebacker at Alabama, but this is a multi-purpose athlete at the high school level. He plays offense. He had over 800 yards rushing last year, over 100 tackles on defense as a junior. He kicks, he punts. I mean, this is a tremendous athlete that is a tackling machine on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and maybe the best thing about him, Gary, when you look at him, is just his intelligence, his overall intelligence. As a football player, he seems to always be in the right spot at the right time. And, you know, you talk to Coach John Cupps. That was his head coach, Rick Robertson, who we just saw. But John Cupps, the defensive coordinator, told me all along, he said the thing about him is he seems to read the plays 2 or 3 seconds before everyone else. And he just, you know, he's where he needs to be at every time, all the time. He's always in position. And you know, Gary, you can't coach those kind of instincts.
You know, he's, and I know you don't do a star system, but he's a 5-star according to Scout, a 4-star according to Rivals. I think ESPN has him in the top 50 players in the country. I mean, he's just a really good football player, and so indicative of the type of player that Nick Saban has recruited since he got here. Of course, Sal Sinceri, as you heard the coach talking about, had a lot to do with it, but he's good academically. He's a good football player, outstanding character, young man. I mean, he just fits the Alabama template under Nick Saban perfectly.
Well, he does, and let me say this, Gary. You know, sometimes you find out more about these players when you talk to opposing high school coaches in that area. Up in Dayton, Ohio, there's a coach, Maurice Douglas, who coaches at an opposing school, and Maurice Douglas played for the Chicago Bears for 11 years, so he kind of knows what a football player looks like. I asked him about Trey DePriest. He said he's a special player. Kind of compared him to, if you remember, Jordan Hicks, who was one of the top linebackers in the country last year out of the state of Ohio, who went to Texas. Compared him favorably to Jordan Hicks, said he might be overall quicker as a player. So, again, he's obviously an outstanding talent.
Yeah, and a big pickup for Alabama going into Buckeye country. and getting Trey DePriest from Ohio. Well, from one of the top linebackers in the country to possibly the top overall prospect in the country, this past weekend, South Carolina standout On Clowney got everyone stirred up with his Facebook page. This is what he posted. Quote, "Just got back, been thinking about my life. I think I'm going to Bama." Now, obviously, Rodney, we want to make it clear, and some people didn't, I guess, understand. That is not a commitment. You don't commit on a Facebook page. But certainly, based on what he said and based on some information that you and some other recruiting followers have gathered, Alabama's in very strong position with this terrific football player.
Well, first of all, I'm not sure that was him that's posted
it
that.
could have been someone
you know
else,
how
yeah.
that goes. These kids get on these things and they start posting all kinds of stuff. But, you know, On Clowney's great, certainly a great football player. We know that. The #1 player in the country, according to most everyone. And I do think Alabama has a great shot at On Clowney. Obviously, the 2 in-state schools are going to be factors, South Carolina and Clemson. But, you know, we had the interview with Bobby Carroll, his head coach, a couple of months ago when he made that unofficial visit early in the summer and, you know, raved about it. Said he hadn't seen anything like that in 28 years of coaching, and Jadeveon kind of felt the same way. So, I mean, I think Alabama's in great. Can they close the deal? Can they get him out of the state of South Carolina? There's going to be a lot of pressure. Bobby Carroll thinks that it's going to come down to a business decision for his star player. He thinks he's looking at it more of as a standpoint of not that he has to come back to South Carolina to live someday, but that he's going to make a fortune in the NFL. And what school could prepare him any better than Alabama?
Yeah, Burton Burns in charge of recruiting Clowney. Of course, he's got great contacts in South Carolina, a longtime assistant at Clemson. You know, though, as you alluded to, the heat will be turned up by some in that state. I mean, some people see this for Steve Spurrier as a must-get. So it's going to be difficult, but certainly Alabama is going to be in the chase to the end. And you never bet against Nick Saban when it comes to recruiting. All right, let's talk about some other prospects that are looking at Alabama. Rodney, interesting prospect that you've talked about on the program, you've written about on your site, Todd Pete, another one of these massive defensive tackles out of the state of Arizona. Dad, a former NFL player. Yep. Alabama's right there with him.
Well, we talked about George Atkinson a couple of weeks ago, the former Raiders son, and Todd Pete's another former Raiders son, and also his father, Todd Pete Sr., played for the St. Louis/Phoenix Cardinals, played for, guess what, who? Gene Stallings. Mal Moore was on that staff, so he has some connections to Alabama. Arizona State, just 5 miles down the road, certainly a strong factor there, as well as Stanford, but Alabama's in the mix, Gary. We talked to Todd Pete today. And Todd told us that he's going to make a visit to Alabama for a game and may even come back for an official visit as well. So Alabama's in position anyway.
You used to hardly ever hear of Alabama recruiting in Arizona. Now there's another prospect originally from Australia. Interesting guy, mammoth in size, terrific athlete. His coaches just rave about his athletic ability, quick on his feet. I even read he's a good dancer. I mean, you're talking about 330-pound Jesse Williams, and you felt like Alabama may be the leader for him.
Well, I think so. You know, Gary, he's going to make his official visit on September the 4th here for the San Jose State game. I think clearly well, let me say this. He's possibly one of the best interior defensive linemen in the country in the JUCO ranks, and I think Alabama has a great shot at him.
All right, you're getting a look at how Alabama recruits. They start in state, but they're not scared to go anywhere to go after a prospect. Interesting prospect that Sal Sinceri is recruiting, Ishaq Williams out of Brooklyn, New York. Yep,
and people say Brooklyn, New York, what kind of football do they play up there? But Ishaq Williams is a real player, Gary. There's no question about that. Notre Dame, Penn State, Pitt, Florida, everyone's after Ishaq Williams. He's going to come down maybe next week on an unofficial visit. He's going to kind of take a tour, make some stops around the Southeast, and Alabama is expected to be one of those.
All right, Rodney, it is going to be interesting. Alabama in on a lot of big-name players, but with 16 commitments, spots are already getting tight. Thanks for the information. Well, coming up, Nick Saban returns to the big screen. We'll give you a sneak peek of the coach's new film, Nick Saban Game Changer. And still to come, the coach comment today on Marcel Darius' situation. Find out the latest. And, of course, we'll get to your phone calls and your emails. You can give us a ring at 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. Or email us TITV at WVUATV.com. You're watching the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide, the one, the only Tider Insider TV, presented by Buffalo Rock. You know, it's obvious to me that many of you are trying to stay away from a fast food diet, but at the same time, time is always of the essence. Well, you can win the battle right here. Nuke's Express Cafe. Notice the word express. They get you in, they get you out, but it is freshly prepared food right there when you order it. Oven-toasted sandwiches, California-style pizzas, hand-tossed salads, all with fresh ingredients. They've got a beer and wine menu. Call 758-2455 for all your catering needs. Great desserts. You walk up to the counter, you order, they give you a number, you sit down, they bring your food out quickly and fresh. It is the convenience of fast food without being fast food. That's Nuke's Express Cafe, 205 University Boulevard East in Tuscaloosa, just up from the UA campus. Well, Nick Saban is coming back to the silver screen. He made his movie debut with a cameo appearance in Blindside. Now he's the star. Nick Saban Game Changer premieres on August 24th in Birmingham. It'll follow up a few days later in theaters all around Alabama. Here now, the film's trailer.
Now you got to be ready to go out there and earn it, guys. You have to earn it. They want to take what you got to go get it and go after it. And every guy in here's got to do it, but whatever your role is. Every play in the game for 60 minutes. Got it?
It gives me great pleasure to introduce the next coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban. It was one of the most crucial hires ever for Alabama.
We're not going to talk about what we're going to accomplish. We're going to talk about how we're going to do it.
The snap, the spot. The kick is blocked. It's blocked by Alabama. It's blocked by Alabama. The Crimson Tide.
And he is driven, and he is focused, and he should be. That's what you want him to be. That's what you want his team to be.
And execute the plan. Do your job. Play your gap. Run your routes.
It is intercepted by Javier Arenas in the end zone. Intercepted by Javier.
And I'm just proud of the fact that we won the SEC championship, and I'm going to just enjoy that for now.
California, here we come.
And now it's their turn to be responsible for their own self-determination. They need to know what it takes and understand that it just doesn't happen. You got to make it happen.
Full house backfield. Here's the give. Ingram, touchdown, Alabama. He gallops behind Terrence Cody for 2 yards. Alabama wins its 13th national championship. And the roses in this grand old stadium are once again crimson.
Looks pretty good to me. As we already stated, Nick Saban Game Changer premieres in Birmingham on Tuesday, August 24th. It hits theaters everywhere on Friday, August 27th. Here are locations you can watch the movie in and around the viewing area. Also notice that it will be playing in Auburn. Wonder if Gene Chizik has already ordered his tickets. Maybe he can get out and watch a Game Changer. Still to come on this edition of Tider Insider TV. Will Alabama repeat next season as national champions? Coming up, we pose that question to a national championship winning coach, ESPN analyst Lou Holtz. And we'll be taking your phone calls and getting to your emails. Again, the number posted there on your screen. Give us a ring now to get through or email us, TITV@WVUATV.com. Stay with us.